So we're going to shift over to the Houston game. So I'm going to prep the Houston game and the Rutgers game, and then we'll talk a little bit about the teams on the other side of the bracket. But if you're not aware for how the Players Era tournament is going to work, 2 games are set, and that's Alabama's for sure playing Houston on Tuesday night. They are for sure playing Rutgers on Wednesday night. And then on Friday, they will be playing whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket that lines up with us. We don't know who it will be, but we'll talk a little bit about that side of the bracket here coming up and what I think, kind of a few key points to think about. So let's first go through Houston. And, this is not Alabama's first time playing Houston. Alabama has played Houston twice over the last 4 years. Both of those games were really good games. I was actually at the one in Houston, missed the one in Coleman because I was actually in Dallas at the time. And both of these games went down to the wire. The game in Coleman, is famously the one where you have the meme of Nate Oates standing there trying to shake Kelvin Sampson's hand. The whole Houston team and bench is freaking out over the refs, thinking that J.D. Davison should have been called for a goaltend. It doesn't happen. Alabama wins by 1 in Coleman Coliseum. And then the game in Houston, my roommate from college, him and his dad are season ticket holders, so I was able to go to that game. I sat with them, and it was an incredible game. Houston actually goes up about 15 in the second half, and then with about 15:30 to go, Alabama goes on a run, ends up coming back to take the lead, and ends up winning the game in the Fertitta Center. It was a huge win. Obviously, that was the 30-win season with Brandon Miller's team. That was, one of the best Alabama teams of all time. And it was just a really, really big win and a key win for Alabama. And both of these games really told us a lot about how you play against Houston, what Houston wants to do, and how you're going to have to, win this game. First and foremost, you cannot get destroyed on the glass. When you look at how Houston plays, right, they are currently 19th in defensive rebounds, and they are 29th in offensive rebounds, right? So they're top 30 in rebounding on both sides. And that is a huge thing for how Houston plays, is that they stifle you on defense, and then they limit you to one shot, right? They also do a great job at turning you over. They're currently 4th in the country at turning teams over. They sit at 3rd in defense, right? This is an elite defensive team. However, what this team is not, and the place where I think Alabama has a chance to be successful, is this team does not play fast, right? So if Alabama has a chance to speed them up at all, right? We know that when Alabama plays these slower paced teams, if Alabama can get the tempo up a little bit, it definitely plays more into Alabama's favor. You saw that. You see that at times. And the other thing that Houston does not do a good job of, and I do expect them to do better against Alabama, but it's not something historically that they've done great, is run teams off the three-point line, right? When I talked about Illinois, I kind of expected Illinois to do a better job running us off the three-point line. And for the most part, they actually did. They gave our shooters that typically are not the best three-point shooters more three-point opportunities. Just so happened that Grant Nelson made them. Modi made one. Aiden made one. But really, if you're asking Nate Oates, he probably doesn't want those 3 guys to be the ones combining for 16 threes attempted. He would much rather the guys be Aiden Holloway, Latrell Wrightsell, Mark Sears, right? You'd much rather them to have more attempts than the other 3. And that wasn't the case, right? So Illinois did a decent job running the guys that they didn't want to take the shots off the line, but they didn't do a great job running the teams off the line as I expected. Houston, however, the amount of three-point attempts compared to just overall field goal attempts, for how they've been historically on KenPom, they've always been at the bottom of the country. Currently, they sit at 329 in that stat. So this is a team that does allow you to take roughly 47% of your shots from 3, right? This plays right into Alabama's hand with how they want to play. And this also means that it's a situation where Alabama, I think Houston's going to pack it in, right? They're going to make Alabama take some of those shots from deep. If they start hitting them, I expect them to come out and try to get us turned over. But Houston is going to try to get the rebounds, right? That's their game plan, to leave you to one shot and not allow you to get the putbacks. Obviously, that's Alabama's game plan, is to take the longer threes, get the offensive rebound, keep the possession alive. I don't think you're going to be able to do it against Houston. I don't think that Alabama has the elite rebounders that we've had in some years past where you could afford to do that. It's going to take a team rebounding effort. For example, Noah Clowney in this game in Houston was phenomenal on the glass, and he was a huge part of what allowed us to be so successful in that game. Juwan Gary in the game in Coleman also did really well on the glass, did really well, making shots that you don't always see him make, and was big in the game. If you remember, that game in Houston was the one game of the year, I believe, that Brandon Miller did not score double digits. He scored 8 points. They were off in the free throw line. And he did not, in general, have a great game. But that's what Houston does. Houston tries to take away your best option, make the other guys beat you, and then see how well you can rebound as a team, defend as a team, play offense as a team, and not just have one guy come out and beat them. Right? That's what Houston's going to try to do. Where Alabama potentially is going to have some success is all of our guys have a lot of experience, right? Alabama is one of the most experienced teams in the country, and I think that this is going to be a really big moment for a lot of those guys. I do also think that the freshmen that we have that play, and that play a good bit, namely in this one I expect Darion Reed and I expect LeBaron Philon to play a good bit. I think that Aiden Sherrell definitely could play a good bit, depending upon how Houston is rebounding. I think that Nate may want to try that option because Aiden at moments can be an elite rebounder. But I think that the fact of how our freshmen play, and that they're a little bit more physical and not as much finesse, I think that they will have some success in this game. I don't think that they're going to get them out of their sorts quite as much as sometimes like a J.D. Davison, right? J.D. had an okay game against Houston, but the level of finesse and like a Javon Quinterly, a Brandon Miller even, because it's a little bit more finesse, they did not have as much success against Houston because of, again, how they play defense. They get up into your body. They really try to punish you. I think that Alabama, having played Memphis in the exhibition, is going to help them because they're going to know what a team's like when they really get up into you and really get physical. But Alabama's going to have to do a really good job on the glass, going to have to do a great job taking care of the ball, and going to have to make some tough shots. The benefit that Alabama does have is Auburn has played Houston and beaten them, so there is a level where Alabama has seen another elite team play them and win and seen how obviously they did it. Again, this is not Nate's first time playing Kelvin Sampson, so I also do expect that there's a familiarity there that will help. I think this will be a very, very good game, and I think that it will partially rely on Alabama's ability to at least keep the rebounding close. I'm not saying Alabama needs to win the rebounding battle, but I think they need to keep it close. Because if Alabama gets doubled up on offensive rebounds like they did against Illinois, it's going to be a long day. Houston is not the most efficient offensive team. They actually are doing a great job currently this year from three. Emmanuel Sharp, LJ Cryer, Milos Uzan, Terrence Arsenio. They have, multiple guys shooting over 40% from three on high attempts. They have done a great job shooting the ball. But I think that the part that Alabama just needs to be on the lookout for is that Alabama needs to rebound the ball and not allow Houston to dominate on the offensive glass, right? That's obviously the key to this game. I do think that Alabama is going to have some chances with Cliff in the pick and roll game, like short rolls and stuff. We had some success with Charles Bediako, and he's obviously, if you know anything about Chuck, he was not always the best with his hands. I think that Alabama and Cliff definitely could have a chance in this one to create some mismatches and create some opportunities. But I do think that in this game, the key to the game has to be rebounding. And I'm not saying anything crazy when I say that, but when you play Houston, rebounding has to be the name of the game because of how good they are at it. Kelvin Sampson is a master at teaching how to rebound. He's a master at teaching how to play defense. And if you're loose with the ball, if you're not crashing the glass, if you're not boxing out, Houston will beat you on the glass. They will turn you over, and they will have success just off of the number of attempts and how difficult they're going to make it for you to run your offense. So I think your guards are obviously going to need to play as good as they have. They're going to need to make open shots and rebound the ball, right? This is going to be a very tough game. I do think that Alabama has a chance to win this game. I think that the Illinois game showed Nate a lot of what he needs to see from a rotation standpoint. The rotations and the offense looked so much better in the Illinois game than it had in any of the games prior, including the exhibitions. And so I think that we may have found something as it relates to offense in that Illinois game, especially against a more skilled competition. But that is what I think, right? I do think that Alabama has a chance to win this game. I'm expecting it to be maybe in the 70-something possession range, probably low 70s. So I'm expecting this game to probably be sitting in the, 78, 75 range. I think that Alabama can win. I probably would predict that Houston's going to win just because of them having played Auburn and exposed some of their weaknesses. I think that them playing the tough non-conference game already with Auburn, I think they may have exposed a couple of the things that they needed to work on. And I think that Kelvin Sampson's a good enough coach that I think Houston can win this one. I would not be shocked if Alabama wins, but I'm going to set my expectation that Houston wins a close game and Alabama has to look to bounce back against Rutgers. So we'll talk about the Rutgers game.